Hey guys, what's up? Just the other day, I was actually talking about the importance of remembering to what extent you step forward when you swing your weapon. And here I've got an example of a Phantom that did not keep that point in mind. He goes for the weapon art, which wasn't actually a bad idea to try and knock me off. Trying to avoid that would have been difficult if he had kept his footing a bit better in mind. He would have probably been able to pressure me a bit like that. Here you'll see some really sloppy play from me and frankly from the host. He heals in my face a couple times in ways that I just really don't expect. And this is just another probably classic example of me really not taking the situation seriously because I know I'm just going to be able to work this guy. I actually don't have the Hornet ring on today. I traded it out for the Obscuring ring. This is my soul level 36 build. So I've got the life ring and the FAP ring, and then I've got the prisoner's chain. So it really only gives me one ring slot to play around with. Obviously, I could take some of the others off, but FAP and prisoner's chain in particular, I really need because that's what enables me to maintain the encumbrance I've got. So I could shed some weapons, some armor, or what have you to be able to swap those rings out, but in practice I really don't. So I've got invasions from all over the map today. I've got a number of different locations represented, and I actually have probably at least 2 builds and maybe 3 different ones represented, and where it's important I'll try to bring it up and mention it. This obviously still my soul level 36 build. The catacombs are pushing things a bit here. I'm running into characters that are higher level than I am. They may have weapons that are more upgraded than mine. I'm at +4, but they're typically about on par with me. If I go any further than this, deeper down into the catacombs or even into Irithyll, then I run into players that are definitely higher level than I am. So I try not to do that too often. And here I'm trying to see if the party saw me and if they're baiting me in or not. I got really excited when I saw him fat rolling, but one of the things I'm trying to do is not push things so far. Try to keep momentum on my side to a certain extent. And here, as soon as I see that lizard, I know almost all parties will stop and try to kill it, no matter if there's an invader around or not. And you can take advantage of kind of their focus on that to really do some damage. I nearly run off the level there. I have trouble sometimes in this section of the map because there's a lot of dead ends, a lot of nooks and crannies, and I would say that probably 20% of my deaths occur when I trap myself in a corner of some type, so I'm really wary of doing that. And fortunately, because this is soul level 36, my character can really take a beating. So I decided to go out here on the bridge and see if I can trick the party into coming with me. But the host knows what's up right away. He's not having any of that. So at this point, I'm kind of cognizant of the fact that the further I take this party into the level, the greater the chance that they're going to just give up and go fight the boss. But if I try to stay here, I'm dead for sure. So I have no choice but to keep leading them further in. And here I kind of can make a little bit of a stand because of the choke point, but because they both have shields up front, they're able to really pressure me there. And with 2 of them like that, and there I get sort of trapped a little bit. With multiple players with shields like that, they can really pressure you. And that was a bit of a Hail Parry there. I felt like I probably had a good read on him, but I would not likely have normally gone for that parry were it not for the fact that that was probably my last good chance at removing one of the players from this game. These really tight quarters are very, very difficult to play against with multiple players. And as Oro would say, smarter than the average bear. I went for the setup parry on the Sunbro, but he did not fall for it. And time again, I find that players who don't PvP a lot, that's one of their glaring weaknesses, is that they don't manage their shield stamina well enough. And to a large extent, I think that's because the PvE in this game does not really punish players for poorly managed stamina. You get your guard broken, there's really no serious consequences. And there, I almost forgot my own rule and almost went over the side. As a fitting end to this invasion. I got a great deal of satisfaction from watching that host fall, more than I probably should have. So now we move back to soul level 90. We're obviously in the Grand Archives. I've been spending a lot of time here lately. I'm sure a lot of the folks watching this already know of the soul level 90 Discord. But the more I play this game and the more I play at other soul levels, the more I realize that 90 really is a great sweet spot. I think 90's really good because you avoid a lot of the gank squads. When you think about the type of player that goes to soul level 120, 125, that's a particular type of player. That's somebody that's pretty invested in the game. And so even the gankers at that level tend to be quite a bit better. They're not as good as the invaders, but they don't have to be. Even a player of average skill ganking in a group of 3 or 4 with a mage and somebody using faith miracles, that's enough to do it. In this little section here with these mages casting spells and throwing wax around, I love this area because there's just so much going on. I think a lot of hosts and phantoms kind of go through input overload in this area. And there, I almost hang out too long and the host nearly kills me. I really, really wanted the riposte on that Phantom. But where they were really bold a few moments ago, now that there's only 2 of them, they're exercising a considerable amount of caution now. And this, for me, is, I think, probably one of the most frustrating things that can happen in an invasion. Is when they don't want to come up, they realize that there's an advantage for you up top, so of course they want to stay down, and of course I know the advantage is for them down below, so I don't want to go down there, and it becomes a sort of a stalemate. And I think one of the things that's changed is with the summoning of the blues being so frequent now, if they have Way of Blue on, it adds some pressure for me because I don't want to have more blues coming into the world. And I don't know how I missed him on both of those. So I'm trying to do what I can to kind of draw them out. And this is always a frustrating situation. When you've got one of the phantoms or the host that's shooting arrows at you, throwing fire bombs at you, it's really difficult to deal with. But here, this actually works out a bit in my favor, I think, because they get me with the Undead Hunter Charm. I'm at half health, and this really makes them feel emboldened. See, I'm comfortable, though, fighting with low amounts of health like this. So this is really a situation that favors me still, I think, especially with the number of enemies here. And one of the really cool things about the enemies here is that a lot of them are backed by those curse hands. So even with a party of 3 people, they're a little reluctant oftentimes to go after all of the mages. There's 2 or so that are easily pickings, but there's a couple back that are much more difficult to get at. And I'm not sure if the one up above is actually able to hit the host and his phantoms down below. One other thing that you can do in this area is, if you get too much pressure, is you can actually run in among the curse hands yourself. Now you will take damage, and you can be cursed by them, but I find that the host and his phantoms are typically more reluctant than you are to go back there. So if you need to go and get a heal, if you're getting pressured a lot, it's just a really great place to go and get that heal off. So this little encounter here, I decided to leave in. It's a little silly, but I thought if there's any new players out there and they've never had to deal with parry spammers, this might help them out a little bit to watch this section. So right away, I see he's got a buckler, and I know what's up before I even start fighting him. I know he's going to be going for parries, and this weapon is slow enough that the R1s can be parried on reaction. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to be throwing the parries out in a very smart fashion. So I chain a couple R2s together because those can't be parried. Goes back to the buckler. So now I'm just going to wait for him to parry because I know it's coming. And then the moment he does, I circle around for the backstab. I think the big key is you have to be comfortable standing in the other player's face. That's a skill that a lot of newer players don't develop. You can't be afraid to be standing next to somebody and be ready to roll out of their attacks. Being willing to come in range of their ability to hit you and your ability to hit them, and not move, not swing. That'll help you avoid a lot of parry attempts there. And then if you know the parry attempt's coming, you just wait it out, and as soon as it comes, you're kind of circling them. They stop moving, and you circle around to their back very quickly. Now, if they're using something like a cestus, it's a bit more difficult because the recovery frames are so fast that unless you're very quick about getting up to their back, they can recover from their cestus parry and roll out before you have a chance to backstab them. In those cases, I find that it's easier to run at them and run to their back, but that takes a lot of practice to be able to get that down. Now, something I learned watching Saint Wright stream the other day, he made me think about something that I had never thought about before. And here I see the party, and I've got the obscuring ring on, so I don't think they see me yet. But I turn around because the blue's inbound. Previously, I would have just gone after the party, but then I would have had a 3v1 instead of a one-on-one that I'm able to get here. And then if I'm successful in beating him, then I've only got a 2v1 that's left for me. Spoiler alert, I am successful. As soon as I see that this guy's got freed scythe and he's using the weapon art, my parry shield comes out. Because I know it's only a matter of time before he's going to go to the meat grinder. I make sure to top off before my free Estus comes in. And the party really made a mistake here. They really should have come in when the blue was here, because they would have had a 3-on-1, and that would have greatly improved their odds of victory. And for whatever reason, the Phantom with the Dragon Slayer spear, he's using a lot of charged R2s. He shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I don't have a parry shield out. He would be much better off using standard R1s. The other thing is, the spear class on the whole the one-handed moveset got terribly nerfed. One-handed spears are almost worthless to me at this point. The only way that I would consider using a spear one-handed is if it were part of like a combo build where I had maybe like an S-stock or a straight sword in my offhand and spear in main hand, or maybe vice versa. I'm not sure which way is optimal. But there I hear the knight cast the blessed weapon buff, and so I decided to pursue these guys a bit harder because I know he's probably coming up behind me. And I haven't actually checked, but the running R1 on this weapon must do a considerable amount of stamina damage because I break a lot of guards with it. I spent a lot of time invading in Central Irithyll the other day, and there were a lot of gankers. Now, these guys weren't ganking per se. I think they were just trying to get through the level. If they had been real gankers anyway, they would have never watched me just stand there and buff. They would have been on me instantly. You know, I say that, but now I look at this in retrospect and I realize that they had actually killed a lot of the level's enemies at this point already. So maybe these guys were ganking. Maybe they just weren't very good at it. Oh yeah, these guys were ganking for sure. And I was pretty worried about how things were going to shake out because I didn't think these guys were very good, but 3-on-1 is a pretty tall order. But when I see the other red, I'm way more optimistic. And there I get caught in the freed meat grinder, and they almost kill me. At this point, I'm thinking that the red's got a phantom by himself, and I hope he's successful, and I see that he did kill the phantom, which is awesome, because now it's a 2v2. So I try to relieve some pressure from the other red. I really think one of my absolute favorite things in this game is invading alongside another good invader. Now that was a little weird there. The red had his shield up as he was running, so I thought that he would be fine and protected from my running R1. So I'm not sure how that was able to hit him. So invading in Central Irithyll, this is like the ideal situation. This is where you want to find the host and his party. This is the absolute worst part of the level for them to have to deal with an invader. I'm trying to decide who was saying hello. I don't know if it's another invader at this point or what's going on. I'm not sure how my R1 whiffed there. And you may notice that I'm much more aggressive in my healing now than I was. And what I've realized is the number of invasions that I lose because I run out of healing items is probably fewer than 3%. It almost never happens. But the number of times I die because when I started a particular encounter, I was at, let's say, 70% health, though the number of times that happens is way higher. That happens pretty commonly. So I realized that I should be way more aggressive in healing. So I'll heal even if I'm at about 20% health. And I've found that strategy has really helped me out. I would encourage any invader out there to kind of do that same mental check and see, how often they're dying and in what circumstances. You're probably not healing often enough. I definitely wasn't. So I look ahead and I see the parties out there, and they're just kind of hanging back. And I don't want to try to fight two guys out there, so I'm going to go and pester them with the great bow for a little bit and see if I can draw them in. I see one of them taking damage, so I'm looking, is there another invader here? And then I realize that some people are just not a fan of PvP. This guy's making it pretty clear that he is not interested in my presence at all. Well, guys, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the invasions. Thanks for checking in.